Welcome back to part 2 of the Instagram Q&A. Tom, let's go.
Question number 1, JT McSherry, any ideas for good snacks or meals post 7, 8 p.m? I'm struggling.
Okay, so if you haven't seen part 1 of the Q&A, I mentioned this before, but food shouldn't be good or bad, or you can have them at this time, but not this time. So if you haven't checked out part 1, click on that above and check it out. I'm gonna go with macro fillers. So I'm gonna change it slightly. So I recommend getting foods which are predominantly more one macronutrient than others. So for example, whey protein is great for protein. It has lower carbs, lower fat. I've also got other foods which are more carb dense foods. So like granola. If you follow the prep series, you know I do like a little bit of granola or free, all in one go. And for fat sources and stuff like that, I enjoy chocolate bars. They tend to have obviously lower protein, a bit of carbohydrates, and quite a bit more fat. Other things you could look at is nut butters. I personally like Nutella. So making sure that you have multiple different foods which tend to be more one macronutrient sided. And then when you get to the end of the day and you have that macro filler, I like to personally have around 300 calories with a good distribution. But some days, like last night, I had very little carbs, very little fat. So it was just 45 grams of whey protein with water. So that's what I'd recommend. Next question, please, Tom.
From Rashid Beer, how to plan the deloads when on lean gaining? Should the workout frequency decrease? 2 in the deload week.
Okay. It depends on what your training split is currently. So for example, if you were training like 6 days per week, then a deload, dropping a session or 2 would probably be a good thing. This is lean gaining, yes, so we're talking about a small surplus. Okay, perfect. The deloads, again, may be more important if you are in a more caloric deficit, which is quite aggressive. So I know for myself during the prep, I train 4 times a week. The frequency stays exactly the same. However, on some of the compound lifts, there may be a set which drops off, but I think the main thing is looking at intensity, whether you're using RPE, rate of perceived exertion, or RIR, reps in reserve. What we tend to do there is where I may be around a 7 to 9 RPE on the other 3 weeks. On the deload week, that 7 to 9 then goes down to a 6 to 8. So there's that flexibility. So looking at multiple factors, you could drop a session per week if you really wanted to, and you had a quite a high frequency in regards to training sessions. But just think about dropping intensity slightly, and that could be due to less sets, less sessions, or just not going as close to failure as you have been with your previous training. Next question, please, Tom.
From Fussy to Foodie, if you are aiming for just over 1800 calories a day, what is a number which wouldn't be good to go under if you are training? This is maintenance calories, by the way. I want to build muscle, but a few days I end up on 1500 and can't force feed food down late at night, so not sure. Don't want to lose muscle. Related question, why if my maintenance is on 1800 calories, have I gained scale weight on 14 to 700 calories each day for the past 2 to 3 weeks? Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the question. First of all, maintenance is never stationary. There'll be some days where I walk home and I may get 15, 20,000 steps in, and there'll be some days on the weekend when I've tracked and it might be 2,000 steps. So rather than looking at this is my maintenance, look at it as a range. And in regards to factors where your weight could change, this is obviously a female as well, Tom, from the handle, correct? So other things I want you to take into account are things like your menstrual cycle. So I had a physique client before, prepping her for a show, and we'd know exactly the 3rd week of that month that if the weight literally plateaued and it wouldn't drop, it would not move. 5 to 7 days afterwards, there'd be a nice little whoosh effect and she might drop a kilo or 0.5 kg. So I think when it comes to females, whether it's your clients or whether it's you personally, track your weight. I highly recommend daily weigh-ins if you can get your head around weighing yourself every single day and not putting too much into that, and looking at your weekly average weight increases or decreases. But for females especially, I want you to compare monthly. What was your weight this time last month, rather than weekly, because there will be fluctuations with the menstrual cycle, some more so than others and some less so. So in regards to other factors why your weight might have been different, if I have a chili con carne, it has higher sodium. So when I wake up the next day, I know, because my mouth is extremely dry, and my weight actually can jump up by sort of 0.5 kg. And then the next day when I don't have as much sodium intake, my weight may drop by 0.8 to 1 kilogram. So weight is never stationary. Your maintenance calories are never stationary. If you wanted to adjust things slightly, then it could be, if you are inactive on certain days, you just innately don't eat as much, and you have flexibility with those decisions. In regards to obviously not losing muscle mass, and on some days you're finding it hard to get 1800 calories because that's your target, fruit juice. Like whenever I'm low on carbohydrates, now I'm longer into my prep, I need as much food as possible. But when I first started and I tended to go more high fat foods as preference, and by going lower fat and high carb, I found that I had to make some adjustments. And one of the things that I looked at was fruit juice and getting those calories in via liquid form, especially when you're feeling full. So that's a good strategy there. So I hope that answers your question. Next one, please, Tom.
From Jayan, hi Jas, which is better, drastic water or weight cut, or a slow cut?
Anything with the word drastic in is not better. Next question.
J Ponce Photography, I'm thinking of adding volume on my training. I train 3 times a week. I've increased strength on the key lifts of the bench, deadlift and squat over the past 6 months. I'm currently eating a deficit on rest days and maintenance on training days. Would you change anything on my routine if you were training me? Mondays got deadlifts, overhead press, bench. Tuesdays rest, Wednesdays bench, barbell, triceps, ab work. Thursdays rest, Fridays squats, weighted chin-ups and seated/standing calf raises.
Mm-hmm. So obviously from being in a deficit for 4 days and maintenance for 3 days, I'd probably say what you've just described there, that you have more room and potential to have more volume. So yeah, I'd be looking at, you're doing quite a lot of compound lifts, so maybe just start introducing a few isolation exercises as well on specific body parts you may want to. Obviously, I know you're not in a moderate deficit, so you could potentially put in some muscle mass with being in a small deficit for 4 days out of 3. But yeah, from looking at that, add it in slightly, and then just monitor everything. How are you feeling? How are you recovering? Are you getting excessive amounts of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness? And then just start gradually phasing it in. And again, I don't know whether you want to be more aggressive with your diet in the future, or whether you want to maybe have 4 days training. There's so many options. Just calculate your current volume and then look at different ways that fit around your lifestyle, whether it's an additional session per week or whether it's just doing an additional exercise on certain sessions of that week. Next question, please, Tom.
From Ruben Kelly, expected weight gain per week/month of a lean bulk around 200 to 300 kilocalorie surplus, please.
Okay, so from my maths off the top of my head, if you are in a 200 to 300 calorie surplus, it works out maybe around 0.2 to 0.3 kilograms of weight increase per week. So again, taking into account how long have you been lifting for, how much muscle maturity, or how close are you to your genetic ceiling. So if you are in the 200 to 300 calorie deficit, you'll be looking to put on around 1 kilogram per month. So based on your body weight, that may be 1% if you use 100 kg, or maybe 2% if you use 50 kg. So other things I want you to take into account is just take photos, do measurements. If everything's getting bigger around your legs and arms and torso where you want it to, and your waist isn't like expanding really quick and it's actually staying the same, then maybe you could push it a little bit more. So look at multiple different things to make a call on whether you're gaining weight too fast or whether maybe you could gain it a little bit more weight at a quicker rate. Next question, please.
Fresh Prince of Miami, would muscle loss be expected during a 1 month long mini cut?
If you were dieting like an idiot, then yes. Like if your maintenance was around 3,000 calories, but for that month you said, right, I'm gonna drop it down to 1,000 calories, and it doesn't matter how many grams per kilogram your protein you're having of your body weight, it wouldn't be a smart decision. So like the question we had earlier, drastic, if you do a drastic cut within a month, then yeah, you're at risk of losing that lean body mass, that muscle mass. If you are in a deficit, which is, and another factor is looking at your body composition as well. How much body fat do you have? How much training experience do you have? Have you been training regularly up to this point, or have you had a break for a month? So there's multiple factors there. Focus on trying to get enough calories where you're still in a deficit, where you're losing the desired amount of weight you want to lose. And a good rule of thumb is if you've got a high body fat percentage, you can be a bit more aggressive with your rate of weight loss per week, around the 1% mark. And if you're leaner, again, that may drop down to around 0.5% of your weight per kilogram per week. So take those factors into account and look at weighing yourself every single day, tracking your macros every single day, and looking at a weekly average. And if you're losing too much weight too quickly, then again, you're going to be putting your lean body mass, your muscle mass at risk. So hopefully that answered your question.
Balanced, not clean. Best way to incorporate more calisthenics style training whilst retaining muscle?
Again, nutrition, it's not just training as a thing, it's the whole environment you put your body under. So I'm talking about nutrition, I'm talking about stress levels, sleep, fatigue management, and training. So what I'd look at is your current training, how you're recovering. Again, I don't know, this is putting on muscle, yeah? Or to maintain it in a deficit? Retain it. So obviously you use the term retain, so I'm assuming you're in a deficit. Look at your current training and start adding some bodyweight exercises into it. And if you're finding that recovery is not as optimal, or you're feeling like not optimal, and your other lifts, like your bigger compound lifts, if you're still going to be doing weight training, if you do too much bodyweight stuff and then it has a negative effect on your current weights and the amount of volume you're lifting and the weight you're lifting, then maybe reduce that, but then something has to give or take a little bit. So look at it as a whole and then make a decision on when you're actually going to incorporate those bodyweight exercises, when you're going to incorporate them, and making sure that you look at training and nutrition as an entire thing rather than looking at it more singularly.
James Bond Fitness. How can one use different absolute intensities within a workout but keep the same relative intensity?
You have some exercises, maybe like your big compound lifts where you have a lower RPE. You may be doing some strength work and you want to make sure you're not going all out maximal 3 rep max on your big compound lifts. And then what you could do is you could lower the intensity on some of the exercises later on in that session, maybe some of more of the isolation exercises. So for example, doing lat raises and going to a 9 RPE or even a 10 RPE at the end of a session probably won't have a negative impact on your subsequent days and your training, because it is an isolation exercise and the muscle tends to recover a lot quicker than it would be if you've done some big heavy compound bench press or squats or deadlifts. So you could look at the intensity in that session. If you wanted to get at an 8, then you may be at a 7 on your big compound lifts, and then at a 9 on some of your isolation exercises at the end of that session. Next question.
BJR 1993, will deadlifts and squats negatively affect a V-taper when prepping for a physique competition?
No. Michael, would it? Michael's the biomechanics man, and he also says no.
Casey Fitness, opinions on drinking diet drinks?
Lovely. I love them. The aspartame is killing me softly by was it Fuji's, isn't it? Killing me softly. Yeah, good thing. Now it's in my head. Now it's in your head as well. And I can't think about expanding on this answer because I'm singing it in my head. But no, diet drinks are very, very good. And unless you're having copious amounts, as in 20 cans a day, there is plenty of research out there. I highly recommend you check out James Krieger. He is far more intellectual than me and writes better than me, hence why I'm on the camera, and he writes for his website, Weightology. So check his articles out where he'll break it down into a lot more depth. But I really like diet drinks because it means I can have drinks that taste good, and they keep me fuller, and guess what, they have next to 0 calories, so it means I can stay on prep, and rather than spunking my calories on liquids like full fat Coke, I can have Coke Zero instead. So yes, I love diet drinks. I need a t-shirt. Get a t-shirt. I love diet drinks and I will wear it.
Koza_1, does changing the macro split for different body types actually work, or does it come down to calories in versus calories out?
Calories in, calories out. Let's get away from this ecto, meso, endo, because guess what? When I was young and I didn't lift the weights, I was an ectomorph. Then when I started lifting the weights, I was an ecto, meso. And then once I started eating the calories, I was a meso, endo. And then once I stopped lifting, I was a endomorph with a little bit of mesomorph. There is no scientific data out there which supports that certain types of diets are better for different types of body types. If we're looking at a sports perspective, of course, if you as a 6'9" ectomorph basketball player because you were 16 years of age, then yeah, you can go with that. But in regards to are carbs better for ectos? Ectos tend to have lower body fat percentage, endos tend to have higher body fat percentage. But even that being the case, if I had all endomorphs, what you want to categorize as an endomorph, and calories were matched in controlled setting where I know exactly what they're eating, I know exactly how much energy they're expending, if protein was matched and carbs and fat were changed but calories were the same, there would not be a significant difference. So if you aren't an endomorph and really enjoy carbs, just drop your fat and make sure overall calories are in a deficit if you want to lose weight. So let's get rid of this somatotype nonsense. Let's go, Tom.
Hey Fist, my body would expand and it would lasted for days, especially on my waistline after eating a big cheat meal consisting of gluten, breads, pizza, etc.
Bad foods.
Strangely, it won't if I eat big meal without gluten, e.g. rice. Is this really a gluten effects or something else? Thank you.
Now guess what, this is a YouTube video and I can't tell you if you've got a gluten intolerance or an allergy. What I would say is, I think you need actual biopsies to actually diagnose whether you have like celiac disease and stuff like that. Now there is maybe gluten sensitivity and all this nonsense and stuff like that. There's no way any trainer or anyone apart from a medical professional would be able to diagnose you whether you have a gluten intolerance or whatever you sense it. Oh, I'm a bit sensitive. Now what tends to happen is, and I'm not saying this in your case, is that you could actually go to see a medical professional if this was of a concern, or it could just be, well, it tends to be for most clients, because when we look at the actual percentage, I can't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but the likelihood of you having that is slim, but you could have it. So things you could do is actually, I'm not sure if you're tracking your food intake at the moment. But what you tend to see is some people be like, I've eaten a load of bread and my belly got bloated. If I eat a load of anything, my belly is going to get bloated. So is it because of the gluten, the glutens, or is it because of the amount of food you consume during that one time? So things you could do is go and see a medical professional if it really is of concern, and actually do an elimination diet as well, and really do it. And don't just say, like, pick certain types of food and make sure everything else stays exactly the same and see how you feel. And then just include that one food and see how it goes. But calories have to match. So yeah, they did label foods as bad, didn't they? Don't ever do that. It just might be that if you do have an intolerance, that is bad for you, but not for everyone else. Because I love pita breads, and I love, oh, pita breads. How I love you. Next question, please, Tom.
Danny Bartley 94, what's the difference between premium blend protein and standard protein?
One, price. Two, technically you probably get the premium one would probably have more of a whey isolate on its own. With some of the other blends, they may have a combination of concentrate, isolate. There's some like hydroslate and stuff like that. It's right, Tom used to work in a supplement shop, so he'll know better than me. So yeah, it pretty much is the, like, is it whey isolate? Is it whey concentrate? Another thing tends to be, remember, the supplement industry is not very well regulated, so another thing that tends to stand out is probably the price. What I tend to look at is how many grams of protein per 100 grams in total, or per 30 grams, or per scoop. And based on if the premium one has a little bit more, and because it has less fat and less carbohydrates because it's an isolate form, then I pretty much would just buy the normal one and just accept a few extra grams of fat and carbs. They tend to taste quite nice as well because they do have the extra fat and carbs in. But yeah, that's probably the difference.
Glowing Sue, how much junk can you eat on IIFYM? And she's also asked, or he, what is RIR and RMR?
Okay, RMR is your resting metabolic rate, which is pretty much how many calories you would burn at rest. You also may see BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is more like in a controlled setting. Resting metabolic rate is you're literally just doing nothing for 24 hours. So that's how many calories you would burn just to basically tick over and stay alive. In regards to RIR, that's reps in reserve. So if you saw, we tend to do reps in reserve for our types of clients. We do some online coaching. We don't advertise it. I've just told you about that now. And we won't put a link in a bio, you just have to go on the website and find it. With RIR, it's similar to RPE, although it's the opposite. So an RPE of 8 means like 2 reps in the tank. And RIR of 2 means 2 reps in reserve. So yeah, it's just, I think it's a little bit easier for sort of the Joe public to understand reps in reserve, because they can sort of make it a better assumption of, yeah, I've only got 2 left. In regards to, what is it, junk food? How much junk food can you have on if it fits your macros? As much junk that can fit in your trunk. But when it comes to junk food, again, a common theme, people. There is no good, there is no bad, there is no junk, there is no clean. If it fits your, I hate when people say, oh, are you an if it fits your macro person? If you want to label it, then probably it is that. But I have no, my nutrition is Luke Johnson's nutrition. I eat what I want, when I want, making sure that I'm trying to get more whole foods in. And if I want to have a chocolate bar at the end of the day because it fits my macros, then I will do that. And I will enjoy it. And I will not feel any guilt. And there won't be any cheat days or good days. They are just Monday to Sunday. That's what I look at food-wise. Now, when you're looking at diet and stuff like that, is it easy to overeat on junk food? yes, if you want to call it junk food, because they are calorie dense. At this stage of dieting now, I literally just had a salad. 34 calories, just a bowl of salad because I was hungry. So when it comes to the more you're dieting, the more restrictive your diet is, the more, not restrictive, the more aggressive your deficit is, and the longer period of time you've been dieting for. If it fits your macros, good luck trying to fit all the junk in, because you're going to be a hungry person, just because the volume of food that you're consuming on a daily basis is going to be a lot less. So yeah, that's that. Have we got any more junk food ones?
No. Hiromi Fit for Life. I would like to know the benefit of single leg squat with knee tap. It's usually compared to pistol squat. I want to know the benefits of each.
What's a single leg tap? A pistol squat. So what's the benefit of a pistol squat? A single leg exercise. Versus what is it? A single leg tap. Knee tap. Do you know the difference, Michael?
I actually don't know what a single leg knee tap is, so you'll have to show me. But the pistol squat, you're taking your leg, and on the sides of your leg, you're shifting it forward.
Get my mic.
You're shifting it forward, which means that you get to sit back a little bit more, because all you're doing is distributing your weight forward and back. But that's going to be the biggest difference. So if you've got your leg back when you're doing a single leg squat, then it means you lean forward a little bit, so you distribute a little bit differently. You lean it forward, you have to sit back a tiny bit.
So yeah, different angles, maybe more glutes on the sit back and more quad on the thingy, or not?
Switch it around. So if your leg's back, then it's going to be more glute. If your leg's
Yeah.
forward, then it's going to be more quad.
Yeah.
Because there's more weight that's shifting back.
Cool. Next question.
Lift Love Lena. Is it okay to mix my creatine powder with my coffee?
It probably tastes rank, for being honest. That's first and foremost. Check out examine.com. There was one study where it said maybe it wasn't a good thing to have creatine in caffeine, but that is one study. There's also other studies which show creatine loading with caffeine post has a positive benefit. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I just think it would taste rank.
Dream Elegance. Well, hi, this is awesome. How do you reckon with being a brand rep? Dispatch our association a text. Our information is contained in this company's profile. Shoot that right now. My crew will no doubt be happy to call you on board.
I will shoot that never now, and please never ever comment on our Instagram account again, you waste of space.
From Long Time Loser. I am intermittent fasting but haven't really had weight loss, as I do have any to really lose. What other ways can I see my results?
Okay, so you don't have weight to lose, but you want to lose weight. So you do have weight to lose. Remember, intermittent fasting is a tool. It is something that works well for some people and doesn't work well for others. It's not got special powers. There's no mystical powers to intermittent fasting. It is just a strategy, a tool that means you could maybe reduce your overall calorie intake for the day. So let's not look at intermittent fasting, carb backloading, high carb, low carb. Let's just look at things like, there'll be days when I intermittent fast and there'll be days when I don't. But I don't call myself an intermittent faster. I don't group myself into a category. But your question just contradicts yourself really in regards to, I don't have weight to lose, how can I lose weight? I can't, yeah. Sorry if you took offence, but it is what it is.
Long Time Loser. What do you think of I think he's meant to say Carnitine?
I've not looked at it. What do I think of supplements in general? Well, they're not needed. The ones I do, I don't really recommend. What's it? What? L-Carnitine. I think there's better supplements out there. Yeah, I don't really rate it much. I mean, is it going to hurt you? Probably not. You're going to get much benefits. probably not. Again, focus on your big rocks first. Make sure your nutrition's on point, your training's on point, and then start looking at supplements. So check out like Eric Helm's Muscle and Strength Pyramid video series. He's got one on nutrition and one on training. And the hierarchy, supplements always come as that little bit of the pyramid on the top. And well done to all those others who have basically ripped Eric Helms off with all the pyramids. Helms did like rip it off the Egyptians though, so we'll let him off.
Macro Dad, who do you think will win between Mayweather and McGregor?
Mayweather's going to win in a boxing fight. I love Mac, Team Mac, and the #1, yeah. Tom's really good at accents with that, so I'll probably get him to voice over that. In the boxing fight, Mayweather will win. In a fight in the street or MMA, Conor would win. Who do I want to win? Obviously, I love McGregor. So I think the only chance McGregor has of winning is if he just hits him with a lucky punch and Mayweather drops. But let's be serious, 49 fights, 49 victories, the best of the best in boxing have never been able to beat him. Conor McGregor won't be able to beat Floyd Mayweather in a boxing fight. Best question now.
From Ash, how much does sugar affect body composition when trying to get down to single digit body fat percentage?
Again, it's all about calories. However, if you are having a higher sugar intake, you may be having food choices which do not have the best macronutrient profile as such. So yeah, it's just like sugar. Like everything gets broken down into glucose and stored as glycogen, and then gets broken down again if you don't use it to glucose, and then that gets used to create ATP, which is the universal energy source of the body. So rather than looking at sugar as a thing, look at a diet as a thing, and how if you are having a diet with a ton of sugar, where is that sugar coming from? By having high sugary foods, is it also reducing fibre intake? Is it also just making it a lot easier to overeat on those? But at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out.
Next question from Heath. If one is eating at an 20% caloric deficit and does 3 days of strength training with HIIT along with 2 days of LISS per week, should one eat the amount of calories burned in a workout to come back up to the 20% deficit, or use the calories burned as additional deficit calories? For instance, my goal is fat loss and I'm eating 1500 calories. On my heavy training days, my heart rate monitor says I burn 450 to 700. Should I consume those 450 to 700 post-workout to help with recovery, or just use them to my advantage for faster fat loss?
One should not have that mindset in regards to I've burnt this many calories, so therefore I need to eat that. Look at your deficit as a whole, look at your daily weigh-ins and look at your weekly average, and remember everything moves. As you lose weight, your total daily energy expenditure or your maintenance calories will drop. So what I would be looking at is for that, the amount of calories you burn during a session, just take that into account as like cardio, as like calories burned. So for me, I have a 1200 calorie cardio, just cardio target each week, and that pretty much is 4 times I walk home, which take me around an hour, which sort of gets me around that mark. But just look at it as a whole, and just look at it as additional calorie burn rather than trying to estimate exactly, because there's always margin of errors as well. Like, how are you tracking it? Is it a Fitbit? Is it Apple Watch? Some are more reliable than others, but I think people need to get away from the mentality of I've just burnt 100 calories, therefore I can eat a small little Mars bar bite-sized thing. It's just like, it's a lot easier to control calorie intake then guesstimate your calorie expenditure during sessions, especially if you're not using some form of tracking method. But yeah, one would not suggest that.
Next question from Mark. Hey, I'm looking for an internship for school. Currently I'm studying sports science in the Netherlands. I would like to send you my CV and motivational letter. Thanks for your attention.
Please send me this motivational letter because I need motivating. Luke@reallybioscience.com. Motivate me.
Next question from the Fit Pharmacy student. How important is it to eat post-workout? I.e. if I go to the gym at 9 PM, 10:30, when I get home, I just want to flop in bed rather than faff around and make food.
How important is it? How important is it to make sure you're getting your calories in and your macros, not even in a day and stuff like that? So let's go by day though, because people find it hard to look at like a calorie intake or macros over a week period. How important is it? It depends. If you've got your calories in prior to it, I would suggest though that post-workout, I'm sure you could be able to have a whey protein shake, like something like that, where you don't have to cook food, or it could be you cook food beforehand, so when you get home you have something to eat. But if you don't feel overly hungry, is it going to be make or break if you have something post-workout? No, especially if you get up at like 5 AM and you have breakfast. So it's looking at over intake. Would it maybe be beneficial to have something post-workout? Yes. I can't see it being more harmful. So it could just be get more organised, prep food before. But if you physically can't stomach eating that late at night, then maybe just have a protein shake, and that's when supplements are useful at those times. So for me, I have a protein shake in the morning because I train at 6 AM, purely because, like yourself, I don't really want to get up and cook food, and I'm not that organised to actually prep it beforehand. But more so, I just don't really want to go thinking about getting up and thinking of food. I just want something quick and simple, chug it down, get into the gym, get the work in, and then I can eat something afterwards. Next question, please, Tom.
Final question from Judith. Building muscle without putting on a single gram of fat, however slow the progress and however long it takes, is it possible at all with a small enough surplus?
No. We can't, like, it's like a single gram. You've not even given me a kilogram to work with here. You've gone with a single gram. Again, factors. How long you've been training for? What's your current body composition? They're all going to play a role. But if you want to, let's say you are relatively lean, because they said about lean bulk, yeah? So when you say a lean bulk, I'm assuming you're lean, not like 16% body fat, and saying you want a lean bulk, because then that's probably just a bulk, or a slow bulk. I don't like giving terms to things like lean bulk and this diet, that diet, but it makes it easier for people to understand. So if you were looking to lean bulk, then as I said to everyone else, make sure you are tracking your macros, you are tracking your daily weight, you're looking at your weekly average, and set yourself a small weight gain target. Who knows? You could just eat at maintenance. Let's say you're eating at maintenance and your body weight is fluctuating tiny bits, but hardly anything. If your lifts are going up, if your volume is going up, then you probably are going to be putting on some muscle mass and probably dropping a tiny bit of fat. So it's possible, but again, you're really pulling from both ends, and how much significant or meaningful results are you going to get from trying to really not put on a single gram of fat? Not my words, your words. So I've enjoyed the Instagram Q&A. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, like it, that thumb. And if you want to see more of these, comment below. And let's do a YouTube only comments one as well, because we are on YouTube. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Love you.